Thank you, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Community Relations Student Life Safety and Wellness meeting to order. It's 6:03. And my agenda is not pulling up, so I'm just going to turn it over to Mrs. Burke. Are you the first one on the agenda, or is Miss Lester the first one on the agenda?
I am the first one on the agenda.
Turning it to you. Thank you, friend.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, God willing. Look at that, she did it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to share with you is our district's COVID-19 staff testing initiative, which we piloted for the first time last week.
We have to, sorry, Karen, we have to take public comment on the agenda items first. So Drew, do we have any hands raised?
Sorry, no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Sorry, Karen, go ahead.
No, I apologize. Why are we testing? Routine testing is one more mitigation or safety measure that we're putting into place. Some things we've already been doing all along, such as hand washing. I'm going to try and get back to where I was. Sorry about that. Hand washing, physical distancing, mask wearing, all of which will be enhanced with testing. And of course, we're also hoping that all of our staff can get vaccinated. So through routine testing, we can quickly identify those folks who are infectious, but not yet symptomatic, and get them into isolation per the recommendations of our health department, thereby limiting exposure and infection. So our goal is to quickly identify those who have the virus and limit the spread. Colonial is able to do this through Project Acet, which is assisting childhood education through increased testing. This is a joint effort between the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the Montgomery County Office of Public Health. They're providing us with training and supplies to provide asymptomatic assurance testing to faculty and staff on a voluntary basis. Again, this is another layer of mitigation or safety measure to identify staff members who are positive for COVID, but who are not showing any signs, and to get them isolated. Assurance testing is a form of surveillance testing. We're not tracking specific populations. Rather, we're tracking everyone who does volunteer, that is, to ensure that new cases aren't happening. And that's why repeated testing is helpful in providing that continued assurance. So we're hoping that people who volunteer will come back weekly to make sure that they continue to be healthy. The Binax Now AG card test is what we're using. It's a rapid test that detects the proteins of the virus and helps to identify someone who is currently infected. It's easy to use, it provides fast results, and it gives us information that we can quickly act upon. The Binax Now card has been authorized by the FDA under the Emergency Authorization Act that you have been hearing about. So this is what the card looks like. It's about the size of a credit card. It's reliable, it's affordable, and it's able to quickly identify the proteins or antigens from the virus that causes COVID-19. So this is done through a swab that can be self-administered by the staff member under the trained supervision of the school nurse who would be standing there and observing. So who's eligible for testing? All Colonial staff and faculty are eligible to participate. However, at the time of testing, they cannot have symptoms and cannot have previously been diagnosed with COVID-19 within the last 90 days. Additionally, they cannot participate if they're quarantining due to travel or exposure to COVID-19. And when I say travel, I'm referring to international travel, since the Pennsylvania is no longer requiring travel within the United States to quarantine. So how will the staff get tested? They're going to schedule an appointment at either the high school or Plymouth Elementary using an online scheduling program called Calendly. There will be testing at the high school in the LGI on Monday morning from 6 to 8:30 a.m. and Thursdays from 2:30 to 5 p.m. and at the Plymouth Elementary School in the gym from 6 to 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday mornings. So the staff will create their own quick response code on the Pennsylvania Rapid Test site and report to the testing site at their designated appointment time. And what we're asking them to do is to download their QR code onto their phone or to print it out and bring it with them. There will be designated parking for everybody with direct access to the test location so that they do not have to walk through the building. They'll enter the building for the test and they'll follow the instructions from the testing site staff. So this is what the test looks like. Samples are taken by a nasal swab in the lower part of the nasal cavity. This is not the nasopharyngeal swab that's used at testing sites where they're basically performing a lobotomy and hitting your brain. These swabs are inserted and rotated for about 10 seconds in each nostril. And then that sample gathering is observed by the school nurse to make certain that it's being done correctly. The staff member will then hand the swab to the nurse and return to his or her car to await result notification. The nurse then delivers that swab to and the labeled test card to the testing table for the nurse there to run the test. Now the test card will be able to be read in about 15 minutes after the test is initiated. After the nurse reads the results, she'll provide it to the result reporter who is sitting right next to her, who will then deliver the result to the staff member's cell phone via the text message and email using the information that was provided at the time of registration. If the result is negative, the staff member is free to proceed with his or her day and can leave the test site. So this is basically what the steps look like. You get your QR code, you go for your appointment, you put the swab in, rotate it, that swab, and also you have a testing card. That card then gets some solution, specialized solution placed on it. The swab is then placed in that solution and twisted around and remains in it. And then within 15 minutes, the results can be read. A single line indicates that the results are negative. A double indicates that the results are positive. The staff member will receive, if the test result is positive, the staff member will get a phone call with instructions to move their car to a designated parking spot right at the front door or outside the door of the testing site and remain in the car for confirmatory testing. The nurse will then go to the car, collect another swab sample, return to the test center and run what's called a PCR test to confirm that result. And PCR tests the genetic material or the RNA of the virus. If the PCR test confirms that the staff member is positive for COVID-19, that staff member will need to go home and isolate according to health department guidelines. If the test is negative, the staff member will be able to leave the testing site and resume his or her day. This PCR test takes 20 minutes. So it's pretty fast results. Healthcare providers in all settings are required to report COVID-19 test information and the results to the public health authorities. So our nurses will submit the staff results to the PA Rapid Test site, which will then report the results to our local health department. Rapid Test will also notify staff members via text and or email, however they registered, with the results within 2 hours of the test. So staff members will receive 2 confirmations of what the results of their tests were. If the test results are positive, staff members will need to notify their immediate supervisors of the results so that coverage can be provided. And that's it. So we started that, we piloted that last week at both Plymouth and the high school, and we're hoping to have more volunteers as we go on. And it was very successful. Are there any questions?
Is there any cost to the district to do this? I know that one of the slides said it was low cost, but does that cost to?
There is no cost for us. The health department is providing us with all of the testing and with the test apparatus.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Have you gotten any feedback from any of our teachers and staff about this? How are they feeling about it?
I have not. They felt that it was fast. And some of the staff members who did participate felt reassured that they were negative.
Okay.
So, so far we, knock wood, have gotten no positive results.
And I'm sure it helps that it's not the, all the way up your brain test. Because I know, I think some people are very apprehensive to take the test because of the discomfort. So I think it's great that this test is one, and I took my daughter to get tested the other day, but it really is, it's just at the sort of the base of the nose. So it doesn't need to be, it's not like going to the dentist. It's not as scary as I guess it could be. So
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad we got some good feedback.
Yeah, it's pretty benign.
Are we doing testing every day with the, or is it just like a couple times a week that we offer it?
We offer it 3 times a week, 2 times in the morning and 1 time after school hours from 2:30 to 5. And we ask staff members who are volunteering if they would do it weekly. Any other questions? Okay.
Do you want to move on to our SAP referral update?
Sure. I believe that it was a couple weeks ago, Mr. Shupak, that you had asked whether or not the SAP referrals this year, what the comparisons were to last year. And last year, from the beginning of school until February 25th, which is, I believe, when you asked me. Last year, there were 111 referrals. This year, during the same time frame, there were 55 referrals. Now, that is not to say that there were not referrals to the child study teams or the student support teams with regard to some academic concerns, I think, but nothing that rose to the level of a mental health referral to the SAP team.
How many of those referrals stem from, stem from the teacher observing the student in class? So does it always come from a teacher? Does it ever come from a parent's concern? I forget.
Yeah, SAP referrals can be made by a number of people. They can be made by a teacher. They can be made by the student, him or herself, by a parent, by a friend, anybody who is concerned. And all they need to do is reach out. I think probably the easiest way is to go to the school counselor and make a referral.
So if we're down by half, is that what I'm understanding? Is
Yeah.
there a concern that we're missing people who should be referred?
Yeah. I don't know that we're missing. I know that the county is seeing it countywide. And it just may be that I know there are a lot of mitigation efforts put into place to address social and emotional wellness. And it may be that we're hitting on a lot of the things. We're also keeping open communication with families. So we do get families who call guidance directly and say that they may have concerns where they may not need a mental health referral, but it may be something where they can work out some options for families that don't require a formal procedure.
Mrs. Burke, if we have a lot of students virtual who are not coming in, therefore might not be identified by their teacher as being in trouble, do we send out a yearly or bi-yearly, whatever, reminder that if you are concerned about the mental well-being of your child, here's what to do?
I know that we have posted a number of things. We also have it on our website, and I know that it has been posted under the COVID umbrella. If you have any concerns, here is where you can, who you can contact, who your referral contacts can be. So we can certainly post it even more regularly and make sure that it's up.
Perhaps rather than posting it, because I'm sure there's a lot of parents that don't have the time or inclination to go on the website, but maybe as part of a school-wide newsletter coming out of each school or whatever it is that we do to communicate with families. And I mean, I'm not talking every week, but maybe once or twice a year or 3 or 4 times a year, just to let people know this service is available if you need it.
Sure.
Can I also, okay, I'm sorry, Karen.
It's okay.
Can I also ask, so just so I understand it, so the high school kids, they use Canvas. Does the middle school use Canvas as well, Dr. Christian? Is there a way that, so in that specific age bracket, the kids themselves, if they're having what we would consider a mental health issue, may recognize that they are not feeling exactly themselves, but are not necessarily willing to reach out to a parent or a teacher necessarily, but can we reach the kids in that age group through their Canvas portals, kind of with a message that says, hey, if you're not, feeling like yourself lately, or, if you're, and list like, several things, and then just say, feel free to reach out to your counselor, kind of thing, just to kind of put it in their minds that we are willing to reach out to you. Because in that bracket, like, for example, my middle school and high school kids wouldn't really tell me anything, and if I ask them questions, they're real short answers, but maybe through, a daily like Canvas thing that each kid sees personally, it might, create the atmosphere for them to want to reach out.
Yes, I can follow up with Dr. Bracani and Mr. Failer on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think next up is the AXO update. I'm not going to say the long version. I hope that's okay with you, Mr. James.
Mrs. Peduzzi, I was hoping you would share that acronym. You said it so well last time.
One and done. I'm a one and doneer.
Good evening, everyone, and big smiles to you all as well as to everyone out there in virtual world. So just want to give a quick update on the AXO. So AXO has not unfortunately generated the response that we would like and the willingness to participate. The NAACP is still recruiting. For those who don't remember the acronym, it is the Afro Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. And so I did it, Ms. Peduzzi. We will continue to encourage students to take advantage of the opportunities provided, but we certainly understand the hesitancy for students to take on another virtual task. But again, we will continue to remind them they are still recruiting, and they should hopefully want to participate and gain some local, regional, and hopefully national prestige for participating in the AXO program. But it has not yielded a response, but we won't stop and continuing to try to encourage students to take advantage of the opportunity.
Mr. James, are you working directly with teachers to target students who, might be good fits, who might,
So what we
If
did
we
was,
reached out to them, that they would participate, because sometimes if you just give kids a menu, they're not going to pick. But if a teacher says, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this,"
so that's another channel we could certainly do. I have spoken with several student organizations because the AXO is targeted for certain population of students. We want to again promote it, but I can certainly reach out to teachers and see if they have a recommendation for students that may want to participate. But I have tried to engage the students myself directly to try to get them to be participants.
Can I ask a question specifically with kids that attend the tech school, like they do competitions regularly for whatever field that they're studying. Dana Johnson is their dean of students, and I wondered if you might to him and see if he can identify some of those students that might be he might feel or it would be like AXO, because maybe with, I don't know, since the tech school kids aren't there one day a week, and when we're back in our normal school situation, like the kids will go out half a day every day, to the tech school. So there might be a population that he might be able to.
Thank you, Mrs. Epstein. I'll certainly take that advice and run with it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other board questions or comments about that? We can move on to the curriculum committee update.
That is also me, Ms. Paduzzi, and actually I apologize. That should say DEI committee, but we'll talk a little bit about curriculum in that. That should have said DEI committee update. And so I will provide a brief DEI committee update. The newly structured DEI committee held its first meeting on February 3rd. There are about 35 participants in the meeting. And we discussed the new vision and mission of the committee. The community consortium liaison provided a report with our emphasis on equity and standardization through the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Also discussed other initiatives through our consortiums, PSBA, as well as DVCEE. And we want to make sure that we're trying to do the best that we can to be, kind of in line with each other, particularly in our county. We also talked about professional development and what we can provide to our teachers, how to make them comfortable for having those courageous conversations and what those things look like in the classroom. Encourage teachers to be a part of both the DEI and PD committees so that there's kind of a seamless, learning opportunity and sharing of information. We talked about relevancy and relationships, respect and rapport, building in a two-way. So there's a two-way connection between students and teachers. And without those R's, you're going to face some barriers. So we want to make sure we focus on that. And looking at our cross-section of Colonial School District PD Committee and DEI Committee to identify challenges, opportunities, best practices for teachers and invest in addressing the type of conversations that we want to see happen. So moving forward, the committee will discuss the utilization of NYU's culturally responsive scorecard. The scorecard is designed to measure mutual cultural responsiveness, and to measure cultural responsiveness in our curriculum. And it's a tool that's really going to assist us in providing guidance as we create cultural standards that will enhance our student learning. We're also going to be working towards an equity audit. I've been meeting regularly with members of the Abington School District, Centennial, and Pennsbury School Districts to kind of see how the process has been going for them. And we hope to start this process this summer so that, again, we can look at where we stand as a district and certainly make the enhancements necessarily that will again, benefit our student body.
Mr. James, forgive me if I missed it, but is it possible for the board to get invitations to these meetings going forward? I know I believe we have a board representative, but are other members of the board welcome to attend?
Certainly.
Absolutely, we can take care of that.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And we can also I can also provide you with a copy of the notes from the DEI committee meeting.
Mr. James, are you aware of Matthew K? It's titled Not Light But Fire?
No, I'm not.
So the tech school has initiatives with their staff as well, and Eunice is aware, and Sue Moore, because we're on the board there. But this book, Fire is an awesome, I think would be an awesome resource for you in how to lead. It's basically not Light But Fire, how to lead meaningful race conversations in the classroom. And it's phenomenal. I just recommend if you want to take a look at that, on your own.
Thank you, Mrs. Epstein. You're full of great tips here tonight for me. I appreciate it.
It's just such a timely thing that the tech school is going through the same, initiatives. So sorry.
Thank you so much.
Anything else with regard to the DEI committee? Otherwise, let's keep rolling, Mr. James.
All right. So next will be our Title IX update. Our revised and newly introduced policies are on to the second read. The first read was 218. The second read will be 318. And so we are hopefully that those will be ready so that it can be placed on our newly created Title IX web page. The district administrators that have a role in Title IX have been trained through Fox Rothschild, and that training information as required will be posted again on that newly formed webpage. We're also working on that webpage to try to figure out a way to have appropriate routing to make it easier for those, knock on wood, hopefully we'll never receive one, but in the event that there has to be an incident report filed, it'll be appropriately routed to me and kind of a shared routing system if it's a student based on the building, or if it's an employee, it can be based on human resources. So again, we're going to be working on that routing system as well for our newly created Title IX page. So that was just a brief update for our Title IX policies, and it will continue to grow.
All right. Any other questions? Any questions for Mr. James on that? Bystander intervention training to stop anti-Asian American and xenophobic harassment. Is that you too, Mr. James?
That is me. Thank you so much. And again, this is a very important topic. Unfortunately, the coronavirus has negatively impacted almost every community in our country, and some disproportionately more than others. It has also spurred a rise in attacks against Asian Americans and Asian Pacific Island communities. And so Asian Americans Advancing Racial Justice and iHalaback.org have partnered to provide free workshops to help individuals better understand and how to spot conflict and what they can do to intervene. And that's certainly based on one's level of comfortability, using their model of the 5 Ds of bystander intervention, which are direct, distract, delegate, delay, or document. And the next workshop is March 15th at 6 p.m. And it's open to all, but there are only about 1,000 people. That will be capped at 1,000 participants. So the registration information is on the DEI website, and I just wanted to share that information because, again, it is a very important situation and a very important topic. And certainly, it'll be great for individuals to have some tools in their tool bag should they encounter or witness unfortunate act of Asian or anti-Asian, should they encounter an act of xenophobic harassment. And so it's important that there, again, those tools are necessary based on one's level of comfortability.
Any questions or comments about that?
Mr. James, I think that's great. And I think it's certainly an important program. And, obviously I too have read about the rise in anti-Asian, harassment and hate just because of the pandemic. Is the program open to anyone? Is it, anyone in the community could sign up and attend?
Yes, the registration is actually open to anyone in the country. I attended the workshop last month and there were people from all over the country. So yes, certainly it is open, but again, it has limited participation. But we'll certainly continue to look for other workshops and things that we can use to promote, to encourage individuals to learn more about these very important topics.
Thank you.
Mr. James, I have a question. Is there a way to get information to staff and teachers if they don't attend the actual meeting? Can you give them like a summary or a little explanation of it?
For which meeting?
The anti-Asian one.
Oh, okay. Certainly, I'm well aware of bystander intervention training, and so I can certainly provide some information based off of what those 5D stand for and how they work. So certainly, I can provide that, Ms. Dow, and I can certainly look into maybe placing that on the DEI website with just some tips on what the bystander intervention means and what it looks like, and certainly not a training, but at least, again, like you said, some tips that can be beneficial to those that
Because
can't
I
attend.
think this is something that can easily be overlooked, or the, it can't happen here mindset. And so I really appreciate you're putting this out there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And can you share with everybody what the DEI website address is? Is it an easy? I don't think it's an easy one.
No, and I actually just type it in through the website myself.
Okay.
Let me see here. I want to read it out.
Looking for it as well. Maybe we can do a tiny URL or something. It's actually not, yeah. About colonial diversity, equity, and inclusion. Definitely not an easy one to type in. But yeah, if you just go to the search bar, I guess
search
that's
bar is, yeah, that's the
all right.
the best way to access it.
All right. I didn't know if you had a secret way. Okay, cool.
It's under quick links.
See? Under quick links. Look at that.
And I can also make it a shorter one. So it could be like, like right now, colonialsd.org/DEI is an old form. So I can make it the page.
That'd be great. Awesome.
That's awesome, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kim.
Wealth of knowledge on this call here. All right. Mr. James, are you ready to be off the hook now?
I'm here at your disposal.
Okay. Spring sports update, Mr. Bretz. Hi, Mr. Bretz.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight?
Before you give a spring sports update, can you give us a little bit of a winter sports update? Maybe like a quick wrap up?
You're stealing my thunder.
I'm sorry. I was so excited. There's so much good stuff.
First, I would like to touch base on the winter sports. We had an outstanding winter season and got through it with minimal issues. We had over 19,000 check-ins, daily COVID check-ins for the student athletes and coaches involved. We had minimal disruption throughout the season. The boys and girls basketball teams both clinched and won the American Division title. And they're going to be competing in the District 1 playoffs this Tuesday and Friday for the boys, and Wednesday, Saturday for the girls, hopefully. They got to win Tuesday and Wednesday to advance on. Again, tickets are not available to the general public. It is still based off of the student athletes, 2 tickets per participant. And we actually were able to add the cheerleaders and give them tickets as well, since the mitigations went up to 15% instead of 10. So we were actually allowed to add a few people, and more deserving would be the cheerleaders to be involved, considering that they are our spirit squad that helps cheer on our team and hopefully make it a little bit louder in the gym for those sports. Congratulations to the girls bowling team for winning the American League division title this winter. As the bowling liaison for the league, it was pretty exciting to see them win the title. Also, we had a very successful swim, diving, and wrestling season. We had plenty of student athletes move on to districts and super regionals for wrestling. However, we fell short in most of those, considering that we can't advance more than the top 2 or 3 in each thing due to COVID. Normally, we would probably have had 2 or 3 and possibly a whole school of wrestlers moving on to states or super regionals with that. However, with the cut down of participants, it made it a little bit more difficult this year. And we had a very successful unified bocce season. We did all of the meets virtual. We lost in the county playoffs this past week. The student athletes and best buddies part of it worked out very well. And it was absolutely awesome to watch them participate again and actually do the virtual meets tied into the other school. And I've got to give a nice shout out to Tom Peeler and the tech department for helping us out, making sure that we can pull that all off. On to the spring sports. Actually, today was the first day. It was actually a pretty nice day for the first day to be out there. The baseball and softball team cooperated. We got everybody on the turf baseball field to practice today. The boys and girls lacrosse program got to practice on Victory One together, considering that the fields are still a little bit damp, but hopefully by the end of the week, everybody's out on their own fields ready to rock and roll. We are going to continue to look at the health and safety plan. Hopefully by next week, we can have a new version to Dr. Christian and the board with the spring updates because of the mitigations that were sent out by PIAA late last week, like Thursday morning. So we're still kind of working through those with the Suburban One League to make sure everybody is up to speed with making sure we follow all of those protocols. We will continue to operate under our fall and winter health and safety plan where all the student athletes check in on a daily basis along with the coaches. They all have PPE bags to make sure that they do their temperature checks and everything. And it's worked out very smoothly. We just had a coaches meeting this past Friday afternoon to review everything, and everybody's up to speed of what we need to do and make sure that the student athletes and coaches leave a good positive digital footprint with their social media posts and everything. So we had that conversation as well. The SLO is also still mandating that there are no visiting fans allowed to travel to the away events. And I know it's going to be a little bit more difficult in the spring. Hopefully, as we move on and the restrictions lessen, we can have that happen, that we can visit. But right now, we're still trying to figure out ways that we can live stream between both schools and have that happen for you. Mask rules still in effect for everyone. We still have all student athletes participating with the mask on, just like we did in the winter in the indoor, under the guidance currently still. And then the last update I have is for everyone that wants to see the latest schedules and everything, the latest pictures. We actually updated the pwathletic.org website that is linked right from the athletic page with the current schedules for the spring and everything. If you become a member of that, you will get updates of whatever sport you want to follow. And if I create a cancellation, you will get a notification of that or when it changed to what date it happened to change to. It's actually pretty nice. We actually have the announcements up there now with the spring coaches information. How to do a college signing is up there as well. Hopefully to help out Miss Newell there, to make sure we can make that happen pretty easily for you. That's my update. And if you have any questions, I'll gladly try to answer them.
Mr. Bretz, we've heard from a couple parents asking about spring sports at the middle school. If you could address that.
I can take care of that. Phil Chang was responsible for that, and obviously Phil has moved on in his career, but Bob Failer and Tara Collis are working on it. And so signups for spring sports started last Friday at the middle school. We have 8 teams that will be having competitions and practices this spring. Thus far, we have 140 to 150 children signed up to participate in those sports. We are working, since the construction is taking place at the middle school and we have limited fields at the school, we are using a couple of the local parks at Plymouth Township for our fields. One of our challenges is busing because of the busing requirements we have for our students in school on a daily basis. And there's not a lot of drivers out there, definitely not a lot of extra drivers. So the practices will be, they won't be daily, but there will be multiple practices a week, sharing fields and rotating those fields. And it will be an abbreviated schedule that is slated to begin after spring break in April. The scheduling group that our middle school participates has several schools participating, not all. So I think it'll be more 60 or 70% of their normal schedule. But we think also the ability to rotate use of the fields that are available on the campus helps us with the busing challenges that we're going to have, and we won't have to rely on as much for our kids that are going to the outside complexes.
Dr. Christian, are there any school spring sports that are not able to happen this spring?
Not to my knowledge.
Any other?
I'll have a board update on the middle school signups for Friday. We'll see how that progresses. But they'll continue to advertise that, but it was a nice initial surge of signups last Friday. I think the warmer weather will definitely increase it this week.
One more question, sorry. It's been a little bit since I've been at the middle school. Are we able to offer the physicals that we have been in the past with the pandemic? Like, are we able to keep the kids up?
We're still asking for families to get the physicals on their own. If we have a need, we have a process for families that have a challenge getting that. So not as widespread as we did before, but we don't want to turn anybody away.
And I'm sorry, how about concussion testing as well?
Yeah, the impact testing definitely has to take place, particularly in all sports.
Mrs. Epstein, we're working with Mr. Fowler with that, and my athletic trainer is working with him to make sure we can get that up and running for them. The high school is currently doing them at home via online for the school year. So we're going to kind of do the same thing for the middle school. We'll get that up and running for them.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything about the sports? Do we have any? I don't think we would have public comment, right? We don't. Yeah. Well, I guess it could be.
No,
Is
we
there
do.
public
We
comment?
accept public comment at the beginning and the end.
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised presently. A reminder to our members of the public that are here in the Community Relations and Student Life meeting that there was a specific link for this meeting. There is a separate link posted for the special board meeting starting at 7 p.m. Two different links. So I don't want folks thinking they should just stay on this one, thinking the board meeting starts here.
All right. Well, if there's no, is there any board comments, questions? All right. Then this is adjourned.